It's been a while since I filmed a YouTube video, so I'm a little rusty, but assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a PA and a trauma coach and healing coach for Muslim women. I help Muslim women heal from complex trauma and reinvent themselves. So if that's something you are looking for, you can go to the links in my description and learn more about what I do, get on my waiting list, or apply to join my trauma group coaching program. You know, sometimes the best way to learn is to just see something up front in your face. I've always been like that. I'm a very visual learner. Like I can't read instructions on how to play a card game. I need to see it happening. And when this instance occurred several months ago, God knows how long ago at this point, I don't even remember. I remember thinking to myself, this is going to make a very good video. But I sat on it because I wanted to make sure that when I was making this video, it wasn't coming from malintent. It wasn't coming from anger, but it was coming from a genuine intention to teach people what to look out for in a situation like this. And so I bring to you, this is how to spot a female narcissist. So before I even get into what happened, I want us to understand something. Like in many psychological patterns, there is this distinct difference between the way female narcissists show up as opposed to male narcissists. Now, of course, they can trade traits, but pattern-wise, we tend to see female narcissists leaning towards certain types of abuse patterns versus male narcissists. Of course, you might find outliers to this, but by and large, you tend to be able to clock it pretty quickly. And I deal with a lot of clients who deal with female narcissists in their lives. And part of the intention behind this video is to help you identify it. But sometimes it's so easy to identify it that another intention is to really call out the lack of just Islamic character that we see in people who demonstrate these characteristics. And a warning for us to be mindful of how quickly we can fall into it. And so I am going to pop up on the screen what had happened. So how long ago was this? Give me a moment to just pull up. I want to say just about a month ago, I had actually posted a video and it was titled How to Steal Your Man's Heart. Now this was posted it was posted 2 months ago. And I mean, it blew up. I think it's at 85,000 views at this point. And a lot of people found it very, very helpful. And the intention behind that video was pretty straightforward. I just wanted to help Muslim women specifically. I identify ways to help their marriages flourish. At the end of the day, marriage is an act of worship, and there's so many different things that we can do to allow for it to really be a place where we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bring together a certain level of just connection, commitment, intimacy with our husbands. That was the intention. By the way, let me plug in really quick here. If you don't know, on December 14th and 15th, I have an 8-hour accelerated group coaching program that I'm going to be hosting. 4 hours on a Saturday, 4 hours on a Sunday. I've only opened up a select number of spots. 25% of those spots are already taken. This entire program is about premarital preparation, helping Muslims who are unmarried prepare for marriage from a healing trauma perspective, because a lot of us don't think about the fact that if you come into marriage with trauma, it will destroy your marriage if you don't deal with it. This isn't an opinion, it is a fact. We know this, there's data on this. So this is the first time I'm ever doing this. It's the only time I'm ever doing this. So if that's something you are interested in, link in the description. I'll try to remind you at the end of the video as well. So posted this video and I got a comment. And here it is. I'm looking at my screen to be able to read it to you. But the comment was, with that face, you don't steal any man's heart. Laughing emoji. And I remember getting that comment. And I'll be honest, I wasn't offended. But I was angry. It definitely made me angry. And I was angry because it was almost like, what? Like, how could somebody be so mean? Now, let me clarify things, you guys. An insult to the way that I look isn't an insult, because I actually don't. I appreciate the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created my face. I don't have any insecurities about that, alhamdulillah. I used to, not anymore. Also, I'm married. And And that was my response to this woman's comment. I said, I'm married. I don't need to try to steal anyone's heart. And I said that she should work on her heart because clearly that's what's ugly here. And I can't find the screenshot of my comments. But her response was, you do if you're posting yourself online with hijab love. Hijabis shouldn't be online for men to see. You can call my heart ugly based on one little comment, but shouldn't post if you're too sensitive, sis. Kissing emoji, right? So this isn't about how I feel or how my feelings were hurt because trust me, my ego is not that sensitive. But I wanted to analyze this comment and the patterns that are particularly present to help you guys start to clock in certain people that might be in your life and you might not always be catching the pattern. So let's start off with this. Now, I'm not saying this woman is a narcissist. I am saying she likely has narcissistic tendencies because she just plays too well into that with this comment. So the first comment, with that face, you don't steal any man's heart. So female narcissists like to they kind of like to go under the belt. And this is something, unfortunately, even a woman who's not narcissistic can do when they're in an argument or they're in some sort of conflict. It's very easy to hit a point where someone might be very sensitive. Now, this happens to not be a point that I'm sensitive about. I literally have my face plastered on social media at this point. I kind of don't have the luxury of being sensitive about it. But look at it from this perspective. I post a video that's intended to help support Muslim women and better their marriages. And there are a lot of brothers as well who have watched this video and also shared a lot of appreciation. So the entire video is just supposed to be something that was supposed to be barakah based. I just want people to have barakah in their marriage. Right? This is why part of the work that I do in helping Muslim women heal from trauma is whatever relationship you have, I want it to get better. Narcissists will completely disregard the good in something, and female narcissists will go right under the belt. And that was what the attempt was here, right? Insult something that most women are insecure about, which is their looks, and completely disregard the point of the actual video. Now, moving on, right? My response was clearly, no, that's clearly what I'm not what I'm doing. But there's an element of projecting that we can see here. And what is projection? Projection is when we essentially take an insecurity or something that bothers us and we apply that same insecurity or that same reasoning to someone else. And you see that because when I say that clearly my intention was not to steal any man's heart, I have my man, alhamdulillah, and I'm very, very happy with him. The immediate response is no. Like, oh, clearly that's not true. Clearly, there's no possible way that a woman can be on social media or sharing content if you don't intend it to get men's attention. Now, there's something in psychology called cognitive rigidity. This is a really important thing that many mental illnesses play into. Cognitive rigidity is just an inability to see that there are multiple explanations for something. So when you think that the only reason that a woman or a man or whoever is doing one thing is for this one particular reason, you are thinking from a point of cognitive rigidity. It's not very complex thinking. It's not very impressive. But it oftentimes happens that our cognitive rigidity stems from certain principles that we place on ourselves. So it may be, as an example in this case, that this person believes that if they were to post on social media, they would only be doing it for male's attention. Maybe they withhold themselves from doing it because they know that's their intention and they're trying to protect themselves. That's a good thing, alhamdulillah. We should withhold ourselves from things that end up being a fitna for us. But that's obviously not the intention with my work, considering most of my work is geared towards women. So, obviously that's not what's happening here. But that projection is a very, very important piece to catch with female narcissists because there tends to be a lot of projecting that we see when it comes to especially shaming, sometimes religious shaming from women who actually don't fully know their religion. For example, I will see a lot of shaming of women for showing their faces. And it almost, this push that niqab is required. Now, there is a small minority, opinion that niqab is fard, and I respect that opinion. If there's a woman who takes that fiqh opinion, I respect it and I say, awesome, that's beautiful, because anything that brings you closer to modesty for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful. But when we see this like intense shaming, and when I say shaming, I don't mean like the kind advice. I've gotten comments before from really sweet, well-meaning sisters who are like, sis, consider this for the sake of Allah. It's fadl. And I just sometimes replied that, oh, I don't take that opinion. And I love that you did. I love that you care about me enough to share that with me, because I know it only comes from love. Right? Those corrections only really, they come from a true care. But when it comes from a place of shaming, from an intense, like, I want to knock you down, oftentimes there's projection involved. So start catching that. Could it be that the person is attacking you or shaming you or insulting you because of something that they themselves are afraid of or ashamed of, or have negativity towards and have been insulted about before? It is very common that women who have gotten bullied for their looks will bully others for their looks, or women who had others be very harsh and judgmental towards their looks take that same harshness and judgmental mentality and apply it to others, specifically about the way someone's face looks, which is something they can't control. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ultimately the one who controls. That is a very telling thing about a person's character. Moving on. So we talked about that cognitive rigidity with the comment you do if you're posting yourself online with hijab love, right? Here's another thing that female narcissists tend to do that you will almost never see with male narcissists. They tend to use words or names of endearment as a way to hurt one further. So for example, the use of love in this comment. I use love all the time. If you're a client who works with me, you all say, hey, assalamu alaikum, love, how are you? Right? And it comes from a good place. Now, clearly, if you just insulted someone, your love is not, your name of endearment is not coming from a good place. So this is a manipulation technique. And it's actually one that is intended to belittle and create a sense of authority. Right? Because if I'm coming from a place of I can insult you, but I can call you love, then what I'm doing is I'm essentially not allowing you to take any moral superiority, because now we're equal. Because who do you typically say love to? Right? You say to someone who is a friend of yours or close to you, or someone who is typically who you see as a subordinate to you, or not at the same level. That's typically who you're saying you're calling love. So this manipulation tactic with words of endearment, super, super common. Super, super common. And it can be very confusing for a lot of women who might think that someone means well when they're using these words. Obviously, if they start off with an insult, it's very easy to catch what their intention is, or what their intention most likely is, I should say. But other times, women will do it in a way where they don't insult you. It's kind of a backhanded compliment, and they'll use words of endearment and names of endearment. So be mindful of that, right? When someone comes to you using these names, there is supposed to be a care and a respect behind that. If you're not catching that and you hear them say something that makes you feel, this feels disingenuous, or I feel hurt by this person and what they're saying, and they're not from the group of people that I give access to me to be able to say these things, right? If my best friend comes to me and corrects me on something, or even if she's harsh towards me, my best friend is in a circle of influence where I give her permission to do that. My sister does that. I give her permission to do that. If a stranger on the internet does that, or someone I'm not really close with and an acquaintance does that, now we're starting to see someone who's pushing boundaries of what their relationship was with you. And usually that is a means of manipulating kind of the power positions in that relationship. Next is, you can call my heart ugly based on one little comment, but shouldn't post if you're too sensitive, sis. This is another very common narcissistic tendency. We see it in men too, male narcissists as well. But it's the belittling and the diminishing and the invalidation that comes up. This actually is a really good example of gaslighting, right? There's no accountability here. There's no, I just started off with like a really rude insult to someone that I don't know. And I didn't think that she was going to make a video and pop my name up on the screen. But maybe I should just apologize. Maybe I just should say, you know what, that was mean of me. Maybe I should sit there with myself and reflect, why did I feel the need to insult this person? Instead of, if I truly cared about her being on social media, instead of just advising her. Because she seems like someone who who takes advice. By the way, I do, alhamdulillah. Or at least I try to. No, it's, you're wrong. I insulted you, but you're wrong. Because you're too sensitive and you need to learn how to take it, right? And you shouldn't call me my heart ugly or call me out on my actions based on one little thing that I did. This gaslighting, what it's intended to do is it's intended to distort your reality. So you start to question whether or not you have the right to be upset or angry or call something out. This is a classic narcissistic technique. Gaslighting is classic. And here's the thing. I do this work. So I know that this isn't just one little comment, because nobody just pops up out of the blue and decides, I'm going to, write a horrible comment and then be completely unaccountable to it and forget that the angels write down my sins, even when it's done via the internet. That doesn't just happen once. This is a pattern of behavior for this person. I don't need to look very far than to know that she does this to other people. She may very well have friends. We tend to surround ourselves with people that behave or have similar characteristics in us. It's likely she probably has friends that do this as well. Or if she doesn't, they're just not calling her out on it. And so when you see gaslighting, take it for what it is. Know what it is. Know it's a distortion of your reality. Know that it's made so that you can't step up and set those boundaries and say that this is a line that's been crossed. And if you can start poking at the gaslighting when it comes, especially from narcissistic women, and you can just call it out for what it is, and don't get sucked into the game, you will be able to cope with a lot of unnecessary negativity. Like, you will be able to set those boundaries. You'll be able to pull yourself away from arguments that are about to happen. You'll be able to catch your trigger before it happens and not get sucked into their game. Because that distorted reality, what it does, what she would have liked for me to do is go back and forth with her, right? She eventually ended up deleting the comment. But the back and forth, right? That's what they live for. Because it allows for more access to you to continue to distort your reality, to continue to have that power play, to continue to make you feel belittled and invalidated and small. And this goes to the last point that I want to make, which is a common tendency of narcissistic women, is they tend to target women that they are jealous or envious of. What prompts any person to see a woman who is sharing, with an intention to help people better their lives, better their marriages, build their relationships up, build adab, and engage in Islamic etiquette? What prompts someone to insult them? Knowing that, if it was another person, they might have decided, I'm going to stop posting because I feel small. I'm not saying this person is jealous. Right? I don't know them. I haven't had a conversation. If they're watching this video, I actually would love to invite them on, and I put this invitation out genuinely. If you're watching, just go down to my description. My email should be there. Shoot me an email. We can have a conversation about this on YouTube Live. Like, I would be more than happy to do this. I think it's a very powerful conversation to have. But oftentimes, it's usually because of jealousy, right? This person is able to do something that I'm not able to do. And I'm kind of envious of that. And so instead of building her up, I'm going to break her down. Instead of leaving it be, even if you truly believe that this is a sin, instead of advising gently, like I'm called to do in Islam, I'm going to do something haram, right? So this has nothing to do with the concern for her heart. That's another thing, right? Oh, you can call my heart ugly based on one little comment, right? So this is essentially you can't judge me, right? Oh, you can't, because I had one little comment. You can't say that my heart is ugly. Well, words that come out like that and a willingness to attempt to crush another woman or to harm her doesn't come from a beautiful heart. And there's only one or the other. There's one or the other. So with all of that being said, in summary, right? narcissistic women tend to have very particular tendencies. They tend to go for hit under the belt, reach for insecurities that they believe that you have. They know you really well. They can get to you very quickly. They tend to use words and names of endearment to approximate this closeness to you to hurt you further. They use gaslighting techniques as well, similar to what male narcissists do, to distort your reality, to make you question yourself, and to make it more difficult for you to build boundaries. And lastly, they tend to do these things out of a place of jealousy, out of a place of not wanting good for you. This is the kind of stuff from an Islamic perspective we need to stop. When we don't do the work on ourselves, when we don't do the work, the purification of the heart type of work, then this is the ugliness that comes out. This is what happens. This is what our legacy becomes. The comment might be deleted, but now it's going to be permanently engraved in a video as a reminder that this is not who we should allow ourselves to become. Jealousy is a very, very ugly trait. If I remember correctly, there was a hadith that essentially said that jealousy burns good deeds like fire burns wood. It's so easy to lose. And when we have that sharpness of a tongue towards people, especially people you don't know what effect it's going to have on them. You don't know what is going to, I might be strong enough, alhamdulillah, to deal with this because I've done my own work and I've built up my resilience and I try to make dua about what the work that I do. But it might be that someone else doesn't have that strength and they suffer because of it. And you get the sins because of it. The other thing to note is that at the end of the day, the things you do on the internet, they get written into your book just like the things you do in real life. Just because something is virtual doesn't mean that haram and halal disappears, right? And if we can't take the time to look inward and ask ourselves, why do we feel the need to be so nasty? Then we're in for a long road because the world that we live in is a world of relationships, and you are going to have a relationship with your friends, with your spouse, with all of these different people, and people are not going to tolerate a relationship with you. You're going to end up in toxic, ugly, unhealthy relationships if you continue with this. So with all of that being said, if any of you guys clock this in other people, inshallah, you now know how to identify it and how to deal with it. And at the same time, if you start noticing that you might be doing some of these things or something that approximates it, maybe you tend to be very insulting or you tend to hit under the belt, then let this be an eye-opener for you, inshallah. And of course, if you're a sister who is trying to get married or a brother who is trying to get married, this is actually a program open for anyone. I have my 2-day coaching accelerator called Reattach for Muslims who are trying to get married and trying to heal from trauma to ensure that your trauma doesn't make its way into your marriage, doesn't destroy your marriage or lead to a toxic marriage. All of that information is linked in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't typically do videos like this. And if you did, please give it a like and comment below, inshallah, something that you learned. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're not already.